Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this beautiful National Voter Registration Day morning. My name is Michael Willoughby. I'll be your host this morning. We're here today to talk National Voter Registration Day with some of our wonderful in-state climate partners. And joining us also today for the virtual launch of the Climate Power Campaign, we've got a couple of our favorite state senators, Senator Fabian Doñate and Senator Denis joining us a little bit later in the program. We'll go ahead and get started this morning with my friend. I've worked with her for a very long time, and it's so wonderful to have her with us again this morning. Joining me from Chispa, Alexa Aispuro. It's wonderful to see you today, Alexa.
Hi,
How are
Mom.
you?
Likewise. Thank you so much for inviting me for, such a special event, such a special day.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you taking some of your time out of your day for us to talk with us about voting today and about, as a young person, you can speak authoritatively to what young people are thinking about this year as they head out to these events today. So I'm going to get out of your way, Alexa. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, hi everyone. My name is Alexa Ispuro. Just how we were just talking about right now. I'm from Chispa. If you don't know who Chispa is, we're an organizing program creating opportunities for Latinx across the nation to have a stronger voice as leaders in the fight for clean air, clean water, and just get the justice that we deserve. As we were just talking about right now, today is National Voter Registration Day. It's obviously a really, really exciting day. Um, and it's obviously very important for us to stay educating ourselves, stay getting involved in our democracy, in actions and situations like these, because we know how disenfranchised low income communities of color can be. And just keeping in mind that when it comes to voting, sometimes this is the only political participation that people will engage in throughout their lives, right? Democracy isn't all about voting, and we know that, but obviously voting is vital. We need to be out there electing representatives who connect with our morals, our values, right? People that we know we can work with collaboratively to influence policy, right? So it's just a really important day. There are many specific actions that we can all take to be part of this, whether we can vote or not, right? Just by sharing information. I remember when I started getting involved in the political process, I actually started registering people to vote first. And then that's when I registered myself. It all started back like 5 years ago when I was 18. And, through me being able to register the youth in high schools at UNLV or in just any events that I was going out, I got to realize how we were not receiving the information that we needed. And there was a big gap and disconnect on the information that was being received. Right now, talking specifically about the youth, and then keeping in mind older Latinx generations, right? And maybe the language gap, the barriers, right? And making sure that there's access to information that is in Spanish, that we can all know where can we go vote, when is the last day that I can send out my mail-in ballot, right? um so we're super excited just because we want to make sure that when we're registering to vote, when we're doing our research for candidates, when we're going out to the polls or mailing out our ballots, that we're keeping in mind, what are we voting for? What are we fighting for, right? I know that I'm fighting for clean air, for clean water, for access to equitable transportation, right? So I know those are things that I've been thinking about. I know those have been conversations that I've been having with my girlfriends, with my friends, my family members, and like I said, also my other family members that can vote because I live in a mixed household um, status, right? So today is really important, and I think it's vital for us to really ground ourselves and remember how important it is for us to be participating um, in this political process. But also keep in mind, right? Yes, voting is vital. It is needed, but let's not forget the after of it, the accountability pieces, right? So once we do our part and we're out voting, let's make sure that we are holding our representatives accountable. But yeah, I guess that's what I would say a little bit right now, Mike, on how I'm feeling about today and what's going on and all these conversations.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, that's exactly what personally, I think a lot more people need to hear, and they can't hear it enough, especially on a day like today. It's so critical to vote our values, and to keep what we want in mind when we head out, right, and when we're making decisions about the people that we want. Um, to give our voices to, right? This is,
Mhm.
as you said, the primary means that so many of us use our voices for our entire lives. So it's critically important that we have that in mind, no matter how old or young you are when you go to the polls. It's incredibly important to keep that in mind. What do you have going on today? What do you have going on in the future that you want to tell folks about?
Well, we have a lot going on here at Chispa, actually. We've been wrapping up, obviously, our efforts when it comes to democracy, specifically to going out to vote. We really want to make sure that we are sharing information to our communities around important key dates, right? I'm working with different states. Right now, I'm focusing on Nevada. I know we're having an event tonight. So, really, just making sure that we are sharing through social medias, calling our folks, and just reminding them on these are the key dates. This is what you need with you, just because those are the basics, but they're so vital, right, for us to know that information. So I know that's an area that we're focusing on right now on GOTV, and just making sure that our people are activated, that they know where to go, that they're sharing all that information. And honestly, right now, that's kind of like our North Star right now. That's where we're looking at, that's where we're heading. And we're just trying to get everyone on board, let everyone know what's going on, where they need to go, because as we're saying, uh, we know how important this is, and we know that we need elected representatives who are going to be responsive to our needs, to the needs of voters of color and mixed status families. So it's important for us to just be amplifying this, letting our communities know about this, just because at the end of the day, we continue to be impacted, right, by unjust policies. So we just want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to share every piece of information that we can and help anyone out that needs to, because it's important for us to be on the front lines of democracy, and we have to make sure that we're turning out in November.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Alexa.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you, everyone.
Now we're going to go ahead and throw it over to Yasmin Pelayez. She is the digital media manager from Nevada Conservation League. Yasmin, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us. I am Yasmin Pelayez, and I'm with the Nevada Conservation League. We're really proud to be here alongside powerful climate leaders and Nevada leaders. NCL works to maintain and enhance the natural character of Nevada and the quality of life for Nevadans through effective advocacy, the election of pro-conservation candidates, and building collaboration. With record-breaking temperatures, raging wildfires that scorch the West, and historic drought, it's clear that we need to act really big and bold on climate to protect communities from dangerous extreme weather events and the threats posed by the climate crisis now and in the future. That's why we're here today on National Voter Registration Day to discuss the importance of showing up to the polls at a time when our leaders need to hear from us the most, especially from low-income communities and communities of color who have felt these impacts the hardest. And I know Alexa dove into this conversation, how important it is for us to show up for communities that maybe don't have access to the same kind of civic engagement that someone who is documented would. And so we're really excited to dive into today's conversation about National Voter Registration Day. And I will specifically be going over why it's so important that we show up to the polls this year as climate change worsens. Showing up to the polls and voting for climate leaders is critical as Nevadans face growing threats from climate change-fueled extreme weather events, because more than 70,000 people living in Nevada are vulnerable to extreme heat, and these record-breaking temperatures could be deadly, especially among older Americans, and also those suffering from diabetes and other chronic conditions. Drought conditions are also worsening, with over 70% of the West experiencing the worst of these living conditions. Other health threats also exist. Over 49,000 children and 231,000 adults in Nevada already suffer from asthma. This is only exacerbated by climate issues like poor quality and extreme heat. But voting can be an avenue for change. Our economy and public lands are also at stake. Outdoor recreation in Nevada supports 59,000 direct jobs and generates $2.6 billion in wages and salaries. So I'm including these numbers because I want everyone to understand like how much is at stake. Parks are crucial to Nevada's economy, as more than 6 million visitors to the state's parks spent more than $278 million in 2020. Nevada is home to one national park whose landscape will be drastically altered by climate change, including the impacts of extreme heat within the next few decades. In Nevada, tourism, including the outdoor recreation economy, is the largest economic sector, but climate change is expected to cause growing losses to Nevada infrastructure and property and impede the rate of economic growth over this century. And here in Nevada, we love our public lands. In fact, this week, hundreds of people across our state are celebrating Nevada Public Lands Week. And if you'd like to learn more about Nevada Public Lands Week and what's happening in Nevada, visit nevadapubliclandsday.com. We have a lot of exciting things happening. I think it's a great way for voters to show up and understand what's at stake and really connect with the issues that so many of us care about. Voters care about these issues, and we're really ready to show up to the polls. Clean energy is also a voter issue. 80% of likely voters in Nevada support making investments to create good paying jobs in clean energy. We need to make big, bold, and immediate investments in our clean energy future to create millions of family-supporting clean energy jobs, build resilient communities, and reduce pollution that is fueling these climate disasters and threatening public health. That's why we're thankful for our Democratic federal delegation for recently passing the Inflation Reduction Act, and for Nevada Senator Cortez Masto, who personally negotiated to include $4 billion in this historic bill to combat drought in states bordering the Colorado River. This is an investment that Nevada will see, and Nevada voters are really proud to really see the efforts of showing up to the polls in ways like this. Voting for leaders who have Nevada's best interest and our planet's best interest will strengthen the resilience of communities to climate change impacts and leverage the ecosystems they depend on, including boosting the resilience of tribal communities and landscapes. And so these are a lot of the many, many reasons why it's so important that Nevadas show up to the polls this year. We need to spread this information, share it with our community members, invite them to events like the voter registration event that's happening tonight with Chispa, Nevada, and then also invite them to show up to other issues that sometimes we don't think are related to voting, like Public Lands Week that's happening this week. So Nevadans are really ready to show up to the polls and get involved, and we're just really excited to hear from other partners with us today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yasmin. Absolutely critical. Again, we vote for what we want to see, and policy comes from people, right? Policy comes from people, and we choose those people at the polls when we vote. And so if there's a policy that you would like to see, it's important to get people in place and to help people get there in order to make those policies a reality. Then you can hold them accountable for the things that you want, right? That's kind of the name of the entire game. Thank you so much for joining us, Yasmin. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, up next, we have State Senator Fabian Doñate. He is State Senator of SD10. Senator Doñate, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us this morning. Go ahead and take it away.
Great, and thank you so much, Mike, and good morning to everyone who's watching today. Of course, I'm truly honored for the opportunity to be here to launch Nevada's Climate Power campaign, and of course, to reiterate the importance of National Voter Registration Day. As Mike mentioned, I am Senator Fabian Doñate, and I'm so proud to represent Senate District 10 right here in the heart of Central Las Vegas. I want to mention really quickly that Senate District 10 is my home. It's where I grew up, and it's where most of my family lives. And given that my background is in public health and today's conversation on the impact of climate change, I believe it's important to note that historically, the community that I grew up in is linked to the worst healthcare outcomes in the entire state. Foremost, regarding this conversation, we have an obligation to address the disparities that exist in our most vulnerable communities, especially for our Black and Latino neighborhoods that experience negative health outcomes, and most of those are exacerbated by our inaction to protect our environment. Let me be clear, climate change is negatively affecting the health of our community. There's no doubt about it, whether it's looking at the rising temperatures in Reno and in Las Vegas, or even noticing the fallen ash on our windshields of our cars just this month from the poor air quality caused from wildfires. I think it's clear to say that the time for a debate is over. We are in a desperate moment right now of solving the existential crisis that is. For those of you who are watching today, if you are frustrated about this issue the same way that I am, if you care about the future of our planet, here's how we can enact change. Number one, register to vote. It's future voter registration. If you already registered, keep voting for the community. Let's make sure that we vote. Changes, then essentially everything else falls, and we don't have the capacity.
And Senator, I apologize, but I know at least I missed a little bit of your audio there due to a little bit of a glitch. Could you repeat your last thought there? I apologize.
Sure. Essentially, what I was mentioning is that for those of us who are watching today, if you are frustrated about this issue of climate change, and if you care about the future of our planet, here's what we can do to enact change. Number one, register to vote. It's National Voter Registration Day. And if you're already registered, then go find someone, whether it's a coworker or family member or folks in your neighborhood that isn't, and get it done today. And two, once we are registered, let's make sure that this upcoming November that we vote for climate champions so that we don't continue to make the same mistake again before it's too late. I think regardless of all the folks that, from all the conversations we've had today, I think it's important that we understand that we have the collective power to do good. So thank you so much for all of you for doing your part to protect our home that we have and supporting these efforts. So Mike, I'll turn it back over to you.
I am so happy that I asked you to repeat yourself, and I'm so happy that you did, because I want to make sure that everybody got that message loud and clear. Thank you so much, Senator. I really appreciate your time this morning. Okay, now to bring us home, we've got State Senator and President Pro Tem of the Nevada State Senate, Senator Denis from Senate District 2. Senator, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's good to be with you this morning. Topic first, just talking a little bit about how important this day is and the vote. As a legislative career career, the first time I ended up losing my 62 votes. So every vote is for people to get, and so don't think that your voice doesn't matter. It really get out there as the other speaker. If you're not registered, get out and register. Especially the Latino vote in our communities. Things are just being taken. We have to elect good people of the issues that are important to our community, and so I get out and to register to vote on the issue of how it impacts our community specifically. We've seen things. Well, even this year we actually had a 2 years we didn't, and we had that came in June of 20 workers that were adjusting schedule, cooling trailers, and monitoring all those and look at our Latinos population, but they represent 34 construction sector, 1%, but 2.1. So lost time in our economy. People can't count the climate change. 1/3 of Americans employed who are employed would be at risk of losing income. Transportation for to give out 7,000 bottles of water. All of these are still important because we want to make sure our work, but that they're also being able to be productive. We do everything we can that understand our communities and can ensure that policies budgets are put in place that can help us the issues that we're having because related issues has been talked about, our folks and quality of just grateful for that. I work on a lot of different and I know, and I like to get into and we have to be real, but I know with the Latino community out and be together. We're doing a lot of different things to make sure that we're keeping our but on the climate change, we've got to have people that really once again just urge you to get out, get registered, and then get out and vote. Because thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator. And that is an absolute critical point, right? That today is step one of the process. And there's a second step coming in November. And then after that, it's not just important to vote every 4 years. It's important to vote every time, right? It's great to take part in the festivities today, and you should do that, and we should all be celebrating. But it really does come down to putting it into action. When the rubber really does meet the road, which is at the ballot box. Again, if you want representation, right? We all, I believe here, agree wholeheartedly that representation absolutely matters, right? That seeing people from your perspective being represented means something, right? And if you want that, much like any other thing that you value, right? You have got to exercise your right at the ballot box to make it happen. And we're so thankful, obviously in this state, we are incredibly blessed to have just a whole slate of people who take this very, very seriously, from the quality of life issues that you were speaking about, Senator, and that we've really all talked about, right? Having water at the tap is a quality of life issue, right? Having the power go on when you hit the switch is a quality of life issue. Not having your car floating away is a quality of life issue, or your home floating off its foundation is a quality of life issue. And if we want those issues addressed, we've got to not just support the people that are supporting that once, not twice, but every time, right? Not once, not twice, but 10 times, right? Every single time that it comes down, in order to make that happen.
Right. There's never our voice is an important, and just continue to stay involved and the issues. I think that's so important.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Senator. I appreciate your time this morning. Have a good rest of the day. I know you had a hard out at 10:30, and I'm just so happy to keep you on your schedule. Take care. Have a wonderful one.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out today. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of their National Voter Registration Day. Hope everybody gets out there. If you are not registered to vote, do it today. It's a great day to do it. Go out. Go see some folks at one of these events. Tons of fun stuff going on today. Come out for Nevada Public Lands Week. It's not even just a day anymore. We got a whole week of events coming up, all kinds of good stuff with our conservation partners there. Tons of ways to get yourself and keep yourself involved, making sure that you see what you want to see after November. Okay. Have a wonderful day, folks. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk again soon.